Trump says the U.S. and China are in contact, quote, every day, but isn't offering any details on those talks.
We are going to have a fair deal with China. It's going to be fair.
Are you talking to them actively now?
Actively. Everything's active.
Great news from President Trump. We're now in trade negotiations with China. Things are soon to get back to normal.
But this morning, China saying the two sides haven't consulted or negotiated at all.
Uh-oh. Here we go. Somebody's not shooting straight here. Who could it possibly be?
This morning, trade war confusion. China pushing back after President Trump indicated that the U.S. is negotiating with the world's other biggest economy.
We are going to have a fair deal with China. It's going to be fair.
Are you talking to them actively now?
Actively. Everything's active.
Mr. President, has there been any direct contact between the U.S. and China for trade at all?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And
every day.
Overnight, multiple Chinese officials denying that there have been talks. One saying, quote, there are no trade negotiations between China and the U.S. Any claims about progress are unfounded.
And CNBC quotes a spokesperson for China's Ministry of Commerce as follows. At present, there are absolutely no negotiations on the economy and trade between China and the U.S. And all sayings regarding progress on bilateral talks should be dismissed. So who are you going to believe? The Chinese? Or the guy who claims that the January 6th insurrectionists were actually attacked by Capitol Police rather than the other way around? You know, the guy who said that Harris campaign events were AI-generated fakes. The guy whose company was found guilty of committing persistent fraud. By the way, I did an episode on Trump's extreme lies about the Capitol insurrection, and if you missed it, there's a link to it in the description below. So who are you going to believe? Well, maybe Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent can provide some guidance on who's lying here, Trump or China.
After I heard those comments or saw those comments from Bessent, I went and I spoke to a number of investors. And I said, well, what do you think? And by and large, I heard, okay, this is great. There's some optimism, but there was also skepticism because the negotiations, as Bessent himself admitted, have not started.
So according to that reporting, Bessent confirms China's version of events, which conversely means, yep, Trump has lied to us again.
We begin tonight with mixed messages on a China trade deal. President Trump says there are active negotiations with Beijing after signaling his 145% tariff on China could come down substantially. But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said those formal talks have not started. Confused? Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady joins me now to try to sort this all out. Kelly, so remind us where things stand between these two countries.
Bessent and the White House, they are saying that a deal could be possible. And in fact, yesterday, CBS News confirmed that behind closed doors, Bessent said that a de-escalation with China, he could see that happening. But neither side has even shared a hint of a timeline when negotiations could even start. And so realistically, nothing has actually changed here, Maurice.
So a couple of things here. Trump has zero credibility on the world stage, in part because he lies pathologically, and in part because he breaks agreements with other nations because, I guess, promises kept are just for suckers and losers, right? As someone recently told me, if Trump's mouth is moving, he's either eating a Twinkie or telling a lie. Now, I'm not sure that's always true. I mean, he could be eating a donut. Sure, his devout followers will believe anything he says. His minions in conservative propaganda media will make certain of that. But I doubt that international leaders watch Fox and Fiends all that much. So I suspect world leaders view him as an unpredictable, grievance-driven, dangerous narcissist who requires continuous adulation from those who seek to bask in the glow of his august presence. Recently, when National Security Advisor Mike Waltz created a White House scandal by adding an unfriendly journalist to an unsecured chat featuring top-secret information, he nuzzled up to the president in a way that's understood by friends and foe alike to provide Trump with some always welcome ego candy. Before we play this bootlicking video, please take just a sec to hit the like button, and please do subscribe. Also, since I don't upload nearly as often as those who have whole production teams behind them, please hit the notifications bell to be notified when I do upload new content. Compared to those mega channels who upload like 3 videos before breakfast, mine is more like, let's say, a boutique channel. Ooh, I like the sound of that. A boutique channel. Anyway, okay, here comes Mike Walls.
There was no classified information, as I understand it. They used a app, if you want to call it an app, that a lot of people use, a lot of people in government use, a lot of people in the media use. And I think I'll ask Mike. Mike is here. Do you want to respond to that, please?
Yes, Mr. President. You asked about lessons. I think there's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. And this one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was shut down. Pinprick attacks, months between them, our destroyers being fired upon dozens of times. President Trump took decisive action with his national security team, took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites. And for once, as we hear, as you all hear from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength. You're welcome, world. And look, we had a national security team that was coordinating these efforts. As Director Radcliffe testified today, his first day on the job, he was introduced to this app on his government systems at the CIA and at the State Department and otherwise. So, look, this journalist, Mr. President, wants the world talking about more hoaxes and this kind of nonsense rather than the freedom that you're enabling. And a key part of our sovereignty is open sea lanes and knocking the crap out of terrorists, which is exactly what your team and Pete Hegseth, a good friend and fellow veteran, is leading the charge on. And it's an honor to be part of it.
A question I've posed before on this channel: why is Trump's first inclination always to tell a lie? And it's only going to get worse as mainstream media never fact checks him in real time anymore. And even if they tried, his MO is to simply raise his voice and talk over them until they finally give up and shut up. And again, the size of the lie doesn't matter to Trump. You know, in the midst of Trump's 2020 election denials, I would have been totally unsurprised to hear him say something like dozens of flying monkeys sent by the wicked Democrat of the West were seen landing in metro Atlanta carrying briefcases stuffed with Biden ballots. I mean, really, he doesn't care. Sure, Trump knows that not everyone will believe him, but that's okay, so long as enough people believe him. And incredibly, that strategy is actually effective. A fellow red state guy and political commentator on YouTube, for whom I have great respect, a guy named Tennessee Brando, wondered in a recent video where all the inflation complaints from Trump's base have gone since Biden left office. I mean, after all, prices are still high and getting higher. I left a link to his video in the description below. Now, I've never met this guy, and I'm just kind of a fan, but I think the answer to his question is that Trump's true and loyal base are avid consumers of right-wing media, which is always in their ear providing confirmation bias and basically telling the faithful what to think at any given time. I know this because I hear them parroting talking points straight from conservative propaganda media. So if a Fox personality says, hey, this inflation is no big deal, cult members swallow that right down and say to themselves, I'm thinking this inflation is really no big deal. And if their favorite pundit says, well, there might be a little pain, but it's worth it for America's future, any true follower will think, okay, there's a little pain, but I think it's worth it for America's future. I mean, it's like they never question whether what they're hearing is fact-based or credibly sourced or is even reasonable. They just gulp down the Kool-Aid. When I say right-wing media is always in the ear of a MAGA cult member, it's true, at least in Alabama and I bet in Tennessee also. Wherever there's a public television, you're sure to find it playing the Fox News network. I haven't noticed this so much in the rest of the country, But in Alabama, fast food restaurants often have TVs in the dining areas, and of course, they're tuned to Fox. And when you flip through the radio stations in your car in a red state, you're likely to find a selection of talk radio programs, but they're all affiliated with conservative radio networks. At work, at home, TVs are tuned into Fox or OAN or Newsmax, and children grow up being indoctrinated into right-wing culture of the sort that keeps them angry and afraid, just like their parents, and destined to become instruments of the right who one day will reliably vote against their own self-interests and to the benefit of corporations and the donor class elites. Conservatives have truly invested in the long game to achieve deregulation for industries and lower taxes for billionaires, and it has paid off handsomely. If you're not subscribed, there's a link right up here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for joining me, and until next time, fair winds.